Let me tell you something most men are simply not prepared to hear, but it is the single most important truth you will ever learn about the female psyche. When you become hard to get, most women do not feel rejected. We do not feel cast aside or insulted. Instead, we feel challenged. And that challenge does not push us away, it wakes us up. From a woman's perspective, attraction is not just a measurement of how much a man wants us. It is a measurement of how much of himself he is willing to give away just to keep us comfortable. The more a man overgives, the more he over-explains, and the more he over-pursues, the less valuable he starts to feel emotionally. This is the tragic irony of modern dating. The harder you try to secure a woman's interest through constant availability, the faster that interest evaporates. Being hard to get is not about being cold, rude, or intentionally unavailable for the sake of a game. Women can sense fake distance instantly. What actually changes our reaction is when a man stops centering his entire universe around us. It is the moment when his attention becomes intentional instead of automatic. That shift is the most powerful thing you can do for your romantic life. Suddenly, we notice things we did not notice before. We notice your tone, your timing, your absence, and your presence. You are no longer a predictable element in the background of our lives. You are no longer the man who will always be there, no matter how we treat you. And predictability is exactly where attraction quietly goes to sleep. Most men think women want constant reassurance and unrelenting attention. What we actually respond to is emotional restraint paired with absolute confidence. A man who does not rush. A man who does not chase. A man who knows he is desirable even if we do not choose him. When you become harder to get in a healthy, grounded way, women do not feel ignored. We feel less in control. And that loss of control is the catalyst for curiosity, respect, and a deep emotional pull. I want to tell you exactly how women react internally when you shift from being constantly available to being selective. This is not what we tell our friends over brunch. This is what we actually feel in the quiet moments. This is how our behavior changes, and why this shift affects us more deeply than men realize. If you have ever noticed a woman acting differently when you pulled back without drama, this is the blueprint that explains why. It begins with the moment she realizes you are not always there. Women notice patterns long before men think we do. When you are always available, always responding, and always initiating, it creates a kind of background familiarity. At first, it feels comfortable, perhaps even safe. But over time, that comfort starts to feel ordinary. And ordinary does not create attraction. Ordinary does not create the spark that keeps a woman thinking about you when she is alone. What sparks attention is when that pattern shifts. There is a subtle, almost tectonic moment where a woman realizes she no longer has automatic access to your time and energy. You are still present, but you are present differently. You are not constantly checking in. You do not reply immediately to every trivial message. You have your own priorities, your own mission, and your own life. That realization hits harder than most men imagine, and it sparks a quiet, internal recalibration. From our side, it is purely instinctual. We start noticing the nuances of your behavior that we previously ignored. We notice the way you phrase things and the way you hold back. Small actions that we barely registered before suddenly carry immense weight. When you are always there, those details blend into the white noise of the relationship. When you pull back naturally, those details shine like a beacon. I have seen this happen so clearly in my own observations and experiences. A man who used to text constantly, comment on every social media story, or make himself immediately available for any request, suddenly slows down. Not out of anger, not out of frustration, and certainly not out of a desire to punish. He slows down because he is living his life. The woman notices this immediately. She feels the space he has created and starts wondering, what is he thinking? Why isn't he around as much? That curiosity is electric. It pulls her in without her even realizing it. It does not feel like you are playing a game. It feels like you finally have your own rhythm, and she is forced to adjust to it. This moment is powerful because it is honest. It is not manipulation. It is a natural response to a change in masculine behavior. Women respect men who are not emotionally dependent on their attention. When you step back, you are showing that your self-worth is not tied to her validation, and that communicates a level of strength, confidence, and stability that is incredibly rare. These are qualities women notice immediately. So, when you become harder to get in a healthy, natural way, do not underestimate the effect of simply being less predictable. That is when the shift starts, and women begin to see you not just as someone who is available, but as someone who is worthy of attention, respect, and desire. The second phase of this shift is when curiosity replaces comfort in her mind. Comfort is a tricky thing in attraction. While it feels good, too much of it too soon can dull the edge of interest. When a man becomes harder to get, that comfort subtly fades and curiosity takes its place. And that curiosity is what keeps a woman engaged emotionally over the long term. From a woman's perspective, curiosity is magnetic. We start replaying conversations. We start noticing the way you speak, the things you prioritize, and even your silences. When you were fully available, those things were taken for granted. But when you step back and become less predictable, our attention sharpens. This curiosity is not a conscious choice. It is an instinctive response to the change in the dynamic. We wonder what you are doing, who you are with, and whether your interest in us was genuine or just a passing phase. That internal questioning pulls us closer emotionally without us even realizing what is happening. Attraction grows in the space between interactions. Men often mistake this period of silence or distance as a sign that she is losing interest. The truth is often the exact opposite. When a woman becomes curious, it means you have triggered a mental and emotional engagement that was not there when you were over pursuing. She is investing her most precious resource, her attention, into you. She is replaying your words and noticing your patterns. That attention is far more valuable than any validation you could ever give her. Curiosity also breeds anticipation. When she does not know exactly when you will reach out, she starts anticipating your interactions more. That anticipation is the fuel for desire. A woman begins to care more about your opinion and your presence because they are no longer guaranteed. What was ordinary has become meaningful. This is why becoming hard to get works so effectively when done from a place of groundedness. It is about being less centered on her while remaining engaged on your own terms. By doing so, you allow curiosity to replace comfort. And when curiosity takes root, a woman's emotions begin to align with your energy rather than you trying to force your energy onto her. In short, curiosity is a silent, powerful shift that makes her think and feel in ways that constant availability never could. It builds emotional investment, creates respect, and reignites attraction naturally. As this curiosity grows, she starts paying attention to the smallest details. This is the third phase of the psychological shift. Once a man becomes harder to get, women start noticing things they never paid attention to before. It is subtle, but it is profound. The way you carry yourself, the tone in your messages, and the choices you make suddenly stand out. From a woman's perspective, this is fascinating. When a man is always available and always agreeing, his actions do not surprise us. We stop noticing the little things because they are all expected. But when you shift your energy and pull back naturally, everything about you becomes more noticeable. This leads to a reassessment of how she sees you. We pay attention to your consistency. When you are harder to get but still reliable in how you communicate, your words gain weight. We start evaluating the quality of your presence rather than the quantity. It is no longer about how much time you spend with us. It is about the intentionality behind that time. That intentionality signals self-respect and emotional independence, traits that women value at the deepest level. Even your absence begins to speak volumes. When you do not reply immediately because you are focused on your work or your passions, we notice your priorities. We notice that you are grounded in your own reality. We start comparing your presence to your absence and recognizing that when you are present, it feels more meaningful. That contrast strengthens attraction because it demonstrates that you are not dependent on her validation for your happiness. This shift in attention also influences how we behave. We become more mindful of how we present ourselves to you. Without realizing it, We start investing emotionally in response to the energy you have set. That investment is powerful because it is voluntary. It comes from a place of genuine interest rather than a reaction to being chased. Ultimately, when a man becomes harder to get, women pay attention to the things that truly matter. The smallest gestures and the quiet confidence you display become signals of high value. We start respecting you more deeply, and that respect fuels desire and long-term attraction. The fourth phase involves a surge in respect that occurs when you stop over-explaining yourself. One of the most underestimated shifts is how a woman reacts when a man ceases the need to justify every action. From a woman's perspective, over-explaining feels like a man is unsure of himself. It feels like he is asking for permission. When everything requires a justification, we sense an underlying dependency. And once we sense that dependency, respect begins to fade. When you stop over-explaining, your presence becomes more grounded. Your words carry more weight because they are intentional. We start listening differently because we notice that your energy is not scattered. You are not trying to justify every choice or every delay. That calm confidence is magnetic. Women can feel when a man knows his value without needing external approval. There is a subtle but massive difference between healthy communication and over-communication. Men often think that explaining every detail of their lives will make a woman understand them better, but in reality, it often signals insecurity. Women respect men who can hold space without needing to fill it with endless clarifications. That restraint shows emotional stability. When you speak less but mean more, every interaction becomes more impactful. You are not bending over backward to be liked, and that creates respect naturally. Additionally, stopping the over-explanation allows a woman to take a more active role in interpreting your behavior. When she has to think about your actions, she is investing her mental energy into you. This investment builds the very curiosity and desire that are necessary for a deep connection. In short, respect surges when you become grounded and intentional. It is not about being distant. It is about being confident in your own choices. Women sense that shift immediately, and it changes the dynamic in a way that words never could. It is a quiet power that pulls us in. The fifth and final phase involves the emotional tests that begin without her even knowing she is doing them. When a man becomes harder to get, a woman will naturally start testing him. This is not malicious. It is a subconscious response to the shift in energy. She wants to see if this new, grounded version of you is consistent, or if it is just a temporary act. She is unsure of her access to you, and that uncertainty triggers an internal experiment. She might respond a little slower, or ask probing questions to see if you react with insecurity. She is observing your reaction. What makes this moment so critical is how you respond. If you panic or start chasing again, you lose the advantage. She senses the insecurity immediately. But if you remain calm, consistent, and grounded, she realizes that your behavior is not a game. It is who you are. This consistency builds a level of respect that is unshakable. From a woman's perspective, these tests are signals to determine your emotional strength. We want to know if a man can handle pressure without losing his composure. When you pass these tests by remaining steady, our attraction increases exponentially. We start engaging more thoughtfully because we realize we are dealing with a man of high value. The key takeaway is that becoming harder to get does not create tension if it is done authentically. Women are wired to respond to confidence. When you maintain your boundaries without overreacting, you elevate your value in her eyes more than any amount of charm ever could. This leads to her emotional investment growing while you stay grounded. When you stop overgiving, women begin doing the emotional work themselves. That work is what makes the attachment stronger. When a man is always available, there is no effort involved for the woman, so the emotional value remains low. But when he is selective, she begins to appreciate his energy more deeply. She starts caring more about how she presents herself and the timing of her responses. This growth in investment happens quietly and creates a magnetic pull that is both powerful and lasting. Finally, you must understand why pulling back forces you to upgrade yourself. This is the hard truth. Becoming hard to get is not just about her. It is about you. The real effect comes from the internal shift it forces you to undergo. When you pull back, you are forced to confront the fact that your value is not dependent on her validation. You notice how much energy you are wasting trying to secure her attention. Women can sense if a man is faking it. A man who tries to appear hard to get while remaining internally insecure will eventually fail. You must use the space you create to strengthen your own mission and your own life. When you become less available, she will notice if your life has purpose beyond her. Are you working, learning, and pursuing goals, or are you just waiting for her? The difference is palpable. Men who upgrade themselves while pulling back become truly magnetic. This is your wake-up call. Stop blaming women for pulling away and start taking responsibility for the energy you project. The life you build and the boundaries you maintain determine your success. Women respond to men who are grounded and purposeful. Becoming harder to get is about alignment. It forces you to reflect on your worth and your emotional stability. When you rise to that challenge, women cannot help but notice. They will invest emotionally and respect your boundaries because they sense that you are not chasing validation. You are living your life on your own terms. This is the truth that most men never hear. We do not respect men who chase. We respect men who respect themselves enough not to chase at all. The moment you stop centering your life around her, your value rises instantly. This shift changes everything. Your absence carries weight, curiosity replaces comfort, and respect grows naturally. If this has challenged you, good. Growth starts with awareness. Ask yourself where you have been giving your energy away for free. Those are the areas where you must change. When you start living with intention, attraction will grow naturally. Remember, it is not about being distant. It is about being fully present in the right way. That is how you earn respect and build a connection that lasts.